Hello and welcome to Marketing Global Edition with me, Jasmine Montgomery. And
And me, Hannah Shaw.
yeah, we're joined by Hannah today. Happy New Year, everybody. I hope everyone's had a lovely Christmas and New Year. It does feel like absolutely ages ago. Hannah, did you have a good Christmas?
Had a lovely Christmas, thank you. You?
Good, good, good. Yeah, very good, thanks. Very good. And it's still freezing cold in London. If any of you are listening from warmer climes, send us an invitation. We need to come and see you. So we thought we would kick off the year as we did last year with a review, with a look at kind of the key brands that we think we should be watching this year. And we thought, just in sort of full transparency, we ought to start by having a look back at the predictions that we made last year in 2025 and seeing how we did.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we're going to do that. So we're going to just go back over the ones that Piers and I predicted, and Hannah, you can call us on them
Yeah,
as to
great.
whether
So
we
what
did
was
well
on
or
the
not.
list?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the first ones that we talked about was the peer-to-peer money platform M-Pesa in Kenya. So a brand brought to us by Safaricom, and we predicted that that was going to do really well. Hannah, how did we do on that?
Well, this, as you say, was a peer-to-peer mobile money platform. M-Pesa's revenue grew by around 15% year on year, contributing roughly 161 billion Kenyan shillings and
Wow.
accounting for over 40% of Safaricom's total service revenue. So I'd say you were pretty spot on with that one.
Great. Well, we just thought that one was going to do really well, partly because of the sort of general trend around fintech. But we know Safaricom, we know that they're great at what they do, and Africa's so ripe for that kind of platform. And I think we may be talking about it again in our 2026 predictions, not M-Pesa specifically, but perhaps that sort of arena. Another one that we looked at that we predicted was Shopee, which is a great big Asian e-commerce giant with a really strong footprint across Southeast Asia. And they also seem to have done really well. So they've been expanding into Latin America. They had high-profile celebrity endorsements with people like Cristiano Ronaldo, K-pop groups, figures like Manny Pacquiao, the boxer. And in 2025, according to Sea Limited, who's Shopee's parent company, their overall group revenue grew by 418% in Q2 because of Shopee. So this was very much, this is a great, great story for Shopee. I think I love this brand. It's a really cute, fun, funky brand, doing really well. So top marks to, we're going to channel Donald Trump and give ourselves an A plus 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 for this so far. Hannah, this is one that I know you love.
I do love, and I'd like to think I was on the trend before the trend got going because I've been going on about Saudi as a tourism board for ages. But last year, you and Piers both predicted, that Saudi would make it on the map. And what it's done is it's built a future-facing destination. It's built a brand using influencers and people and getting user-generated content. So you see these beautiful images of the deserts and great things happening out of there. They've got they've really opened up. They've got a really aspirational slogan, Saudi Arabia, visit the untold, which is
Yeah, that's
really, really
great,
interesting and
great idea.
really is an untold story.
Hmm.
The strategy focuses on adventure and desert landscapes, luxury spas, cultural diversity, and they've really turned Saudi Arabia around. It's really been a tipping point, so I'm pretty sure it's going to continue to be big. This
Yeah.
year.
I was just in Riyadh in December actually and was quite gobsmacked. I hadn't been there since 2015. And I was gobsmacked at the changes. I didn't have to wear a
Mm,
abaya and hijab, which I did in 2015. I didn't mind, but
mhm.
I didn't have to, and plenty of women weren't. And it seemed a
Mhm.
lot more open for tourism, for foreign
Yeah,
visitors,
it looks
etc.
it. I mean, we've been used to seeing fabulous things from Jordan and Dubai for years, but to
Yeah,
see to see Saudi Arabia on par
yeah.
with those two countries is impressive and in such a short space of time.
Yeah, yeah, and they had inbound visitor spending go up 10% year on year, so it's paying
Mm.
off, which is great. Good. Okay, so we did well on that one. Another one that I think did pretty well was Gojek, which is a sort of motorcycle taxi service in Jakarta. And they've kind of evolved into a full-fledged super app. So they now do ride-hailing, payments, courier services, logistics, event ticketing. and they reported a pre-tax profit of 62 billion rupiah, which was fantastic. So they've actually broken a profit for the first time since the company was formed. So this is the kind of brand we love. It's an emerging brand in an emerging market. For marketing global edition, this is really cool and love that. And also, I was born in Indonesia. That's my home, one of my home countries. And so I'm very fond of it. I like to see an Indonesian brand doing really well. What else did we predict? Do you remember?
You also had Emaar Properties on the list.
Yeah.
The real estate powerhouse behind landmarks such as the Burj Khalifa, Dubai Mall. They delivered a really strong financial performance in 2025. They had double-digit increases in sales, revenue, profitability, and backlog. So
yeah. They're going from strength to strength. Actually, they had something really wonderful at New Year's on CNN. I don't know if you were watching, but they just had, as New Year's was approaching, they just showed the Burj Khalifa. There was a little video of the Burj, and the way it lights up at New Year's, and they do those incredible fireworks off of the Burj Khalifa, and they just had a video of that, and then just the word Emaar. And I thought that's was
impressive.
Brilliant. So good, so clever. I love that. One other one that we predicted was Natura, which I think is a sort of under the radar brand. It owns the Body Shop, Avon, and Aesop. Aesop was under my Christmas tree. It was probably under yours, dear listeners, but love it. But I think this is one where we slightly missed the mark a little bit because their revenue was down 13% in Q3. So they had sold off their Avon international unit, but they retained the Avon brand in Latin America despite some underperformance. So they had a strong start to the year, but problems with Avon did kind of diminish some of its overall performance. So bit of a miss on that one, perhaps.
Well, win some, you lose some.
You can't win them all, can you? No.
Moving on to StarHub. StarHub is Singapore's second largest telecoms provider.
Yeah.
You highlighted it last year for its strong emphasis on sustainability, responsible business practices. The company places equal focus on staff well-being and customer experience, which is wonderful. And you said that it was on the podcast because of, it's an example of a brand quietly doing many things right. They did strengthen its position in the broadband market. They actually purchased My Republic Broadband.
Yes, one of the broadband brands in Singapore. Broadband brands, that's a tongue twister in Singapore. Yeah.
And so that's helped cement their position in the market as a broadband leader, which is great. It's also grown in other segments, including cybersecurity, which saw a 20% growth year on year in 2025.
Do you know what? I think we should set up the Seven Fund, because if we had backed, we didn't put our money where our mouth was. We should have invested in our predictions, because actually our portfolio would have done really, really well, all things considered. Okay, we're going to stop patting ourselves on the back, but I think it's important to be, to have a bit of accountability. If we're going to make some predictions each year, I think it's great to come back and say, hey, how did we do? So
absolutely. What about this year? What are we backing?
What are we backing this year? Okay, well, I'm going to kick it off. Hannah and I come at this, interestingly, with kind of different perspectives on the world. And I think you're going to see that in what we've picked. We've both picked some things that are sort of reflective of the spaces we're quite interested in. And for me, I just think that the zeitgeist right now is so kind of dominated by the subject of AI and the tech transformation that we're all undergoing. So I think we're seeing, just in terms of we're going to start with some key trends, and then we'll actually make some predictions about companies. I think what's really interesting this year is looking at kind of the year that AI pilots stop being pilots and go into kind of real world deployment at scale. So, I think we're going to see agentic AI systems starting to independently set goals and take actions, hoping that they don't kill us all. But, from kind of complex tasks, from like shopping to trip rebooking, all that kind of stuff. I think AI is just going to be such a big topic. 70% of companies are using Gen AI for efficiency. And then I think domain-specific AI for industries like retail or healthcare is going to just transform personalization and customer experience for everybody. So I'm excited about that as a trend. Yes. And I'll come on to some predictions about companies in a minute. What are you excited about?
There is huge excitement about AI. I cannot, I can see that.
Yeah.
But, I think there is a balance. I think
Yeah.
human made, that will resurface as a badge of
Human
honor.
made. Nice.
Yes. And I think in doing that, brands that do that will be able to command a price premium,
Yeah.
because there's a real backlash. There is a backlash growing. There is a backlash I can see on social media. It's already
Mhm.
surfacing against AI in the creative world in particular. There is a hashtag called AI slop that is
Yeah.
being used. It's been seen a lot. And I
And
think
what is that AI slop? What does that
AI
refer to?
slop, I think it's referring to the oversaturation of anything created by AI. I
Mhm.
think, when it first came to light, AI image generation was done by very few people. It
Mhm.
was very, there was a different term for it. You could spot it because it looked uncanny valley. That was a sort of
Mhm. Mhm.
known thing. And I think it's become mainstream. Lots of people are doing it and it's sort of saturating the market. So AI slop is a sort of avalanche of stuff that's sort of
Yeah.
being generated that doesn't particularly mean anything, which is why
Yeah.
I predict that distinctly human skills will become more valuable. So, empathy, creativity, judgment, leadership, all the
Mm.
things that AI cannot do will become far more valuable.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, I think when the first 300 times I saw like a kitten making friends with a tiger, or polar bears making pizza, I was so excited and thought the animal kingdom was just up to all sorts of brilliant
Or the
stuff.
animals talking. It's very
Yeah,
fun.
I know. It's so disappointing that that's just all AI generated. Yeah.
I think that AI will be in the human loop rather than humans in the AI loop.
Yeah, I
Things
think
will
you're right.
become,
Yeah.
much more human centric. AI will be designed to help rather than a takeover. I mean,
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I mean, I agree, and I think in some ways what we're seeing is that kind of trust becomes the real currency now. So,
mhm, totally.
we've been looking so much for brands to kind of have creative briefs and to sort of manifest their creativity, and I think actually a lot of it this year is going to be about trust briefs, building credible ecosystems for
I
sort
think
of
so.
humans and their algorithms. So, um,
Absolutely.
yeah, as you talked about kind of AI visibility, like how brands show up in AI generated responses will be more important than SEO. We all talked about search engine optimization. How do
Hmm.
you show up on Google? Now it's going to be, do you show up within ChatGPT or Claude? I think authenticity over polish. So to some extent, what you're talking about in terms of like human made, having a
Hmm.
cachet, and maybe like signals of that. So actually eschewing the kind of hyper polished, hyper realistic space and actually allowing that sort of hand of the craft creator a little bit in there
Yeah,
will be
yeah,
interesting.
I
But
think so.
also, yeah, sort of a shift away from perhaps the sort of 2010s ironic kind of funny marketing to more genuine emotional connection.
Yeah.
So maybe kind of emotional Super Bowl type ads that sort of
I think
tearjerker
so.
rather than like joke heavy content.
And I think if trust becomes currency, owning up to using AI and generated imagery, particularly in creative places, because people don't want to be fooled by AI. If you're going to use it, how do brands make it clear that it's being used? How do they
Yeah.
make it a virtue and not a problem?
Right, right. Transparency, absolutely key.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
Okay. Okay, cool, cool,
Okay.
cool. All
Well,
right. Maybe we should jump into, I think we've got some other ones which we might kind of go through another time in terms of trends, but I want to get into the brands to watch in
okay.
2026. So I'm going to head straight in with one of my brands that I'm picking. It has emerged, so it's not that emerging, but I'm going for Claude over ChatGPT.
Hmm.
Anthropic's LLM, large language model Claude. I think that ChatGPT is the one that's kind of become the household name. A lot of people know it, a lot of people are using it. But I think that Claude, has really kind of, I think the data scientists behind it are great. I think that also the branding is great. I like the fact that you're talking to it's a person's name. I think ChatGPT's
Mhm.
branding is poor. Although it's become a household name, so it's sort of it's triumphed in spite of its bad branding, which always
Well,
annoys me when brands do that.
we say, let's ask chat. It has done the Google thing.
Yeah, no, it
You can't
absolutely
argue with that.
has. It absolutely has. Um, I asked Claude actually which one had better branding, it or ChatGPT, and
Mm.
hilariously, it said that ChatGPT's branding was better. was stronger from a pure marketing standpoint because it had cultural penetration that it's become synonymous with AI chatbots, and people say, "I'll ask chat," the way they say, "I'll Google it." So
Yeah.
even
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 Claude admits it.
even Claude thinks that chat is stronger. But when I look at, but I think that Claude's investment in slightly more intelligent branding. I like the fact that it's got a human name, it's got better identity, slightly better visual identity. I think that's
Yeah.
going to stand it in good stead in the long run. I think it's, got more human and personable branding. I think it feels more like a colleague or an assistant rather than a tool. It's warmer, more approachable. I think it's more distinct. It's a bit more premium in its positioning. And I like Anthropic's focus on kind of safety, which I think is going to stand them in really good stead. If you look at what's going on with Grok right now, and I think we might do a bit more deep dive next week into some of these LLMs and their branding. But I like it. I'm going to back Claude. That's one of my predictions.
Okay. Well, one of mine is Vergio, and I hope I'm saying it right, but it's an Indian fast fashion brand who is a sort of Zara rival over in India. They have a very tech-first approach. They use technology to predict trends early. They built a supply chain nimble enough to respond quickly to fashion and trends. And yes, they're essentially applying Zara's fast fashion model, but with a sustainability lens, and is powered by AI, trend mapping from social media and global events. So it's really, they're doing fascinating things. They have, the brand achieved a 200% quarter-on-quarter revenue growth last year. But they're still relatively small, and a brand really to watch just for its they got expansion in the happening in the works. Yeah, they have some really lovely sustainability commitments, which merges. It's a really interesting tension between fast fashion and sustainability. Is there something like conscious fast fashion coming through? So yeah.
Okay, love that. Great. A fast fashion company that's sustainable in India. I think that's a tremendous one to watch. I really hope they succeed. Going back to some of what we were talking about at the beginning with M-Pesa and stuff, I think this year I'm going to put my money, well, not literally, but I'm not sure they've listed, but it was reputational money on something called Flutterwave, which is Africa's largest fintech unicorn. So it's been valued at over $1 billion, which makes it a unicorn. And this is a payment infrastructure that helps merchants and companies accept payments and send payouts across African markets. And they've processed over 1 billion transactions since they were founded in 2016. And they operate across 30 African countries, and they process payments in 150 currencies. They're Nigerian, and I really hope that they process payments in Nigerian naira, because we have always had trouble. We've had some wonderful clients in Nigeria, love them, but it's hopeless when we get paid by them because they pay us in naira, and what are we supposed to do with that? It hasn't been fungible. So I need to find out whether they'd be any use. But they, so their CEO, 𝐓𝐢𝐦𝐞𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐦𝐩𝐬, has announced that they're targeting full profitability this year. And I think once a company sort of finally gets into profitability, it's a great moment to kind of focus on them. And they had a really big strategic move just a few days ago on the 5th of January. They acquired Nigerian open banking startup Mono, terrible name, in a really huge all-stock deal, so valued at somewhere between $25 and $40 million. And Mono is really interesting. So as far as I understand, Mono is really good at sort of kind of ensuring that payments are above board and not and transparent and go where they're supposed to and so on. And I think that's a really terrific partnership. I do think Mono really needs some help, because you'd put Mono into Google and you get the disease mononucleosis. So they're not planning to, as far as I know, they're not planning to kill off the Mono brand and make it Flutterwave. But Mono, if you're listening, give us a call, because I think you need some help from branding. But I think it's a really interesting, I think it's a kind of brand that's been building quietly, but now kind of making the big moves that's going to see them become a household name globally. A bit like a sort of Revolut, and I think Revolut has gone big.
Yeah.
I love Revolut. I think it's terrific branding. But I think let's keep an eye on Flutterwave this year.
Great. Well, someone who does not need our help with branding is Colfi Beauty.
Nice. Kulfi like the Indian ice cream.
Yes, it is a
Oh, I love it.
colourful, delicious South Asian ice cream, which is a great name for a cosmetics brand
Lovely.
that focuses on deeper skin tones and
Nice.
redefines the beauty market in a far more inclusive way. It was actually founded by a former Mac exec, and obviously Mac have huge credentials, don't they, in the makeup market. But they genuinely innovate for darker skin tones rather than just, add-on shade extensions. And their TikTok narrative marketing is exceptionally good. So we think that this brand is one to watch this year. It's got a target audience focused on South Asian consumers, which is obviously huge, but it's embracing broader inclusivity across skin tones and undertones. It's got a huge growth. It's cited figures like 350 to 400% year over in the Sephora business. It's got lots of retail expansions planned. It's incredible, and it's really well branded. They have a lot of fun. They sell some great products. Eyeliners, concealers, the usual makeup merch. But it's all done in an incredibly young, fun, colourful, just like its name, just like that South
Yeah.
Asian ice cream.
Yeah.
The brand feels
Yeah.
like the name. It has really come together incredibly well. So
Great.
that's
Oh,
one to watch.
yeah, I love that one. That's so beautiful with great brand. Some of these brands that we think need a bit of help, but some of them are just brands that we just look at and admire and think, wow,
No,
wish we'd done that. Um, last but not least, I'm going to end with one that is close to our heart because I've got to confess we helped in the creation of it. But I think this is a really exciting one to watch because it's still associated with our friends' telecommunications brand in Singapore, launched by StarHub in 2024. It's a brand called 8. And if anybody knows their Chinese culture, they know that 8 is an incredibly lucky number. And 8 indeed has been very lucky in its launch. So it operates basically as a mobile network virtual operator under StarHub's umbrella, but it offers mobile services in really competitive, really flexible plans targeted at younger, kind of cost-conscious consumers. So in a world where so many countries are seeing, a cost of living crisis, and people are cost conscious, worried about the future, I think worried about the global sort of, peace on peace on earth. It's feeling all a little bit destabilized. I think, the cost of living's gone mad. Just such a great moment to have launched something it's a price fighter, but it's also really speaks to its target audience, younger consumers, tech savvy users, not just price sensitive. So it pulls in people of all ages in Singapore, so young and old, because there are a lot of sort of older people with a lot of price sensitivity. But it's a country where people are really high tech and tech savvy, and it just speaks in a very emotional way. And I love to see a price fighter brand that also is able to connect emotionally. Those are two overlapping circles in the Venn diagram that so often don't overlap.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think if last year was, benchmarked by the excitement around AI and that kind of innovation, I think, this year will really highlight how we merge that with really connecting to consumers in a really human, intentional way.
Yeah. What a brilliant line to end on. Thank you so much, Hannah. Thank you for joining and giving us your predictions. And we'll have to come back this time next year and see how we did.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, I'm going to go create a little fund, and I'm going to put some money behind all of these and see how we do.
Back our horses.
I'll be speaking to you from my private island this time next year. But that's brilliant. Listen, thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed that, everybody. I hope you all have a tremendously successful, beautiful, well-branded, fantastic 2026, and looking forward to being with you practically every week from here on in. So same time next week. See you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Marketing Global Edition is sponsored by @𝐓𝐢𝐦𝐞𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐦𝐩𝐬 that serves you effective and affordable ads in seconds. And by 7 Brands, the international advertising and branding agency that has worked with clients around the world from Coca-Cola to Facebook.